Yo! What is up, guys? It's Boy here. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe and all of that good stuff. Now, my mum, when I was a young boy, always told me, Liam, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. However, as the years passed, I chose to ignore that advice, hence why many people think I'm a complete cunt. But nevertheless, Dmitry Bivol completely schools, dominates Canelo Alvarez en route to a 12-round unanimous decision. First and foremost, the judges' scorecards in this fight were an absolute disgrace. I'm pretty sure I've said that before in regards to Canelo fights, but all three judges had Bivol winning 115 to 113. However, if you are a sentient, living, breathing human being and you watched this fight semi-sober, then there's no way you can give Canelo Alvarez 5 rounds in this fight. At very best, I would say 3 rounds for Canelo Alvarez, but no more than 3 rounds, in my humble opinion. The fight started out and, Dmitry Bivol was doing his thing behind the jab, keeping his hands nice and high, and he was picking away with straight punches, primarily with the jab, and he was remaining nice and active. He was moving very well, and he was demonstrating a really good sense of distance against Canelo Alvarez. Canelo was trying to walk him down and throw the overhand right to get around Dmitry Bivol's guard, but Bivol would adjust his guard and block the shot quite effectively. Sometimes the looping right hand of Canelo was getting through. In the early rounds, so like the first 4 rounds, Bivol was purely in boxer mode. He wasn't really loading up, but he was scoring, whereas Canelo was following him around the ring, looking for clubbing single shots. At times, Canelo landed a couple of body shots, a couple of shots round the guard, like I said, but the activity early on was with Dmitry Bivol. And after 4 rounds, I felt it was a very close fight. I felt if anybody was up, it was Dmitry Bivol, but in my mind, I was thinking to myself, listen, yeah, Bivol can win rounds this way on anybody who's objective scorecards, but is he going to win a decision like this in Vegas? I was thinking to myself after like round 4, Bivol needs to start stepping it up now. Try to have moments where he pushes Canelo back. Try to have moments where he throws combinations and is forcing the initiative, that kind of thing. And to Dmitry Bivol's credit, that's exactly what he did after round 4. Quite frankly, rounds 5, 6, 7, and 8, there was no way in hell you could score those rounds to Canelo Alvarez. Dmitry Bivol essentially just completely styled on Canelo. He was getting through with a jab. Canelo was fighting this fight primarily behind his high guard, and he was blocking a lot of jabs with his guard, but many were getting through. Many were piercing the guard, and he was then starting to mix up his right hand, his straight right hand. He was throwing a straight right hand, both centrally down the pipe onto the chin, and also to the gut of Canelo Alvarez. And he was changing the angle of his right hand. So at times he himself was looping his right hand to get around the guard of Canelo Alvarez, and that shot was landing. Another good combination for Dmitry Bivol was the 1-2-1. So jab, right hand, and he would follow up with another jab. Rounds 5, 6, and 7, and 8, he was just completely outpointing Canelo Alvarez. Canelo tried to do his, bull in the china shop routine, where he would come forwards behind the high guard and just try to use brute strength to get Bivol's respect. But even when Canelo did land to both body and head, it had no effect on Dmitry Bivol. No effect whatsoever. And in these rounds, it was obvious that Canelo was starting to take a little bit of damage. Nothing serious, but his face was starting to swell up a little bit. He was taking shots, He was taking shots. And, and the scary thing is, at this point in time with Dmitry Bivol, it still looked like he was fighting in second gear, and he was pissing this fight at this point. To Canelo's credit, I felt round 9 was one of his best rounds in the fight. I would certainly say the best round after the 4th was round 9 for Canelo, where he got his earmuffs on and really tried to quicken up his feet, tried to cut the distance off quicker, and he was letting go of more shots. Got some good left hooks to the body, some clubbing right hands around the side of Bivol's guard. And at this point in time, knowing how Canelo fights go, you wondered whether the wheels would fall off on Dmitry Bivol. But no, round 9 wasn't great for Bivol. He lost that round. But round 10, he resumed his boxing, and he himself started to let go of combinations. There was one moment in this fight where he backed up Canelo, and he landed a series of right hands when Canelo was on the ropes. It might have been round 10, I'm not sure, but, and Canelo was looking flustered, he was looking uncomfortable, he was looking frustrated, and we saw that in round 11 when they kind of fell into a clinch, and Canelo basically just lifted Dmitry Bivol and carried him around for a couple of seconds. Canelo was getting more and more frustrated as this fight played out. And yeah, I mean, Bivol basically coasted after round 9, coasted. And yeah, he completely outboxed Canelo Alvarez. I don't need to, if you've seen Dmitry Bivol fight once, you've seen his style. I don't need to spell out what he did here. That's exactly what he did against Canelo. Just straight punches, nice tight guards, great sense of distance, variety on the jab, variety in the power of his combinations. Really good boxing display by Dmitry Bivol, and I'm so pleased. I am so pleased he got the decision, because this would have been a travesty if he got robbed. But thank God he didn't, and Dmitry Bivol retains his WBA light heavyweight title. I believe that is Bivol's 10th successful title defense, or close to it. At this point in time, Dmitry Bivol must be one of the longest reigning champions in boxing in terms of pure title defenses in a row. So yeah, and this is the biggest win of Bivol's career. I mean, where does he go next? I mean, apparently there's a rematch clause for this fight. Based on what I saw, no reason whatsoever for a rematch. Wasn't close, wasn't all that competitive apart from a couple of rounds. Let's just move on. Canelo, go back down to 168, fight Golovkin, fight Benavidez. There's still some big fights out there. Let Bivol try to unify at light heavyweight. Fight the winner of Joe Smith Jr. versus Artur Beterbiev. I mean, I'm sick of seeing rematches in fights where we don't need them. I mean, I understand, that Canelo's VA side, he's worth a lot of money, blah, but this was one-sided. This wasn't close. This wasn't open to interpretation. Canelo Alvarez got schooled. He got schooled by a fighter who looked like he was fighting in second gear. I don't want to see it again. Just so they get another opportunity to try and rob Dmitry Bivol, because that's exactly what they tried in this fight. 115, 113, absolute disgrace as far as I'm concerned. But I'm glad, in all seriousness, I'm glad Canelo lost. As good as Canelo is, his career has been blighted with, in my opinion, corruption. How many fights have we seen with Canelo where the judges are way on his side? We know Golovkin beat him. Erislandy Lara maybe beat him. The scorecards in his fights are an absolute joke. Certain clauses that fighters have to undergo to fight Canelo, weight clauses, etc., catch weights. Then you have the PEDs, etc. I mean, there's so many things with Canelo that make his career, to a certain degree, unauthentic. A guy who is clearly reliant on A-side politics. And let's be real, a guy who, if he was a B-side fighter, would have multiple losses on his resume. The so-called greatness of Canelo Alvarez has been largely enhanced by having the boxing powers that be on his side, and that is just how it is as far as I'm concerned. So for a guy like Canelo to lose, for me it's great for boxing. I don't like what Canelo represents, quite frankly. I'm not saying he's a bad fighter at all. I think Canelo he's a damn good fighter, but he needed to lose. He needed to lose as far as I'm concerned, and I'm glad he did. And if there is a rematch, again, I'm rooting for Dmitry Bivol. To me, there's no need for a rematch. Go down to 168. There's big money fights down there. Benavidez, Gennady Golovkin trilogy fight, etc. There's big fights for Canelo still, but leave light heavyweight alone. I mean, it's a great division as it is. We don't want that division infected with these bullshit politics, man. So yeah, big up to Dmitry Bivol. To me, he was the surgeon, and he eradicated a cancer in boxing in Canelo Alvarez. Might be harsh, but Listen, I'm consistent. I didn't like the A-side tactics of Andre Ward. I didn't like the A-side tactics of Floyd Mayweather. And I don't like the A-side tactics of Canelo Alvarez. It's just that simple, you know? But it is what it is. Share your thoughts below. Big up to Dmitry Bivol. Suave boxing. Easy work. 10 rounds to 2, 9 rounds to 3, that sort of fight. Easy work for Bivol. Share your thoughts below. Peace.